Welcome back.
Let me say to you, welcome back.
Why do you say that?
Well, I mean, I come to this building every day.
Oh, yeah. I was on campus.
It's been a few weeks.
Last week to get my computer.
That's right.
Switched
You were,
out.
you were even on campus on podcast day.
I was, yes.
And we didn't do it.
I was. I can't remember what that day was like. I just know it was hectic.
As have all the days been.
No, that was our rain out day.
Yeah. I don't know. They blurred together. I mean, we did. We got 5 games in last week, so it might have been the only day that rained.
You got 5 in. We got 4.
We're 4.
Tuesday.
We're 4
Tuesday was rain
right now. Yeah, we're supposed to play Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday this week, but supposedly it's the apocalypse today. Apparently,
there was some.
We'll find out tomorrow if everybody's homes are still standing because they're calling for tornadoes and everything else.
I heard 2 things. 1, 3 days after the solar eclipse, the world is ending, and 2, NASA is shooting 3 rockets into the sun during the solar eclipse.
Into the sun.
Into the sun.
Who's saying that stuff?
I have a good source on that. That says it is real. They said look it up. It's going to happen. I didn't look it up.
All right.
I didn't look it up.
You know, these solar eclipses happen all the time.
It's a good month.
It's just the first time that it's coming up.
Listen, I don't know why you're being so negative.
It's the first time it's coming up through our particular part of the world, but they happen all the time.
I prefer to be more positive. I think it's a good month for an apocalypse. I'm just saying that.
Why are you saying that, Coach?
It's just a good time. It's just a good time.
That's right.
No, I don't know. I don't know what's going on with the solar. Do you play? Do you play on that day?
We were supposed to play on that day. We were supposed to play at Vinton County, a team that's in your league.
So what did you?
They rescheduled it.
Okay.
It's already rescheduled for a later date.
We're supposed to play River Valley, and they actually mentioned us playing early in the morning. But
no school.
No school. River Valley and Meg's done.
Idea.
Well, but then I think there's some issues with that.
Tuesday morning?
Like umpires, are they going to be, because they have jobs,
right?
You know what I mean?
Right.
So, and then coaching staffs, how are they? I mean, I've got a teacher.
Yeah, I mean, our coaches wouldn't be able to. I have a job.
Right.
We have to take a day off.
Right.
You and I. Yeah.
So I don't know. I haven't heard anything back from that. So I assume we're going to reschedule it. But there was talk about.
What is it going to be like? It's going to be in our area? Like I know up in Akron, further north in Ohio, it's going to last a little longer. It's like the point of like. But what's it going to be? 20 minutes of darkness in our area?
I don't know. I don't know. I just know that we're like 96% coverage here. Like
96. Oh,
yeah.
Well, that's,
so it's pretty close. Like there's people traveling.
Well, coverage meaning that for a period of time, 96% of the sun is covered.
Right.
But however long is that period of time? I don't know. It's not very long. I think the issue seems to be that nobody wants to be responsible for kids looking up into it, and so let's send them all to their parents. I mean, listen, in the days of litigation, right? School systems, that's the first thing they're thinking about these days. I know.
My head hurts.
It's
Speaking of that apocalypse. So, Coach, I had to come up today because I've gotten hammered over this past week about not having a podcast, not having an episode out yet.
Well, do we have? So the people that are hammering you. So in essence, criticizing.
Oh, they don't give us anything. No,
do they have an idea for a topic?
No ideas.
Are they willing to volunteer to help coach our ball team, take care of our fields,
right?
Things like that, right? Like because it's not like you and I have just been skipping out on doing podcasts.
Yeah. Well, I have. You were here and ready and willing.
Well, but even still, on the days that you've said, yeah, I can't do today, I was like, whew, good.
I forgot. I was gonna blame. Like we had a Friday planned.
Yeah.
And I was hedging.
Oh yeah, it was the Friday of the first week of March Madness because I said, hey, I got some buddies that go up to BW3s. Why don't we go and eat?
And then I was late, and I was like, "Hey, I'm coming up," and you're like, "Well,
too late. I was already on my way down to the."
Well,
field.
no, we didn't have it scheduled. Remember?
Oh yeah, the studio was booked, right?
So I was going to blame this completely on you.
Yeah,
but I decided not to.
Well, in the
name of, good fortune.
Let's for real. I mean, we work a day job, right, where we've got meetings and things like that and things to take care of, and then we podcast during what's typically would be our lunchtime. Like I haven't been eating lunch ever since we've started doing this particular.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Go straight from the podcast and go back into my office and get to work. That's why I have this. This is lunch. But the other thing is, so during baseball season, that lunchtime is spent working so that I could get out of here, sooner and things like that. And so, yeah, I mean, it's an adjustment between the month of mid-March to, hopefully to June,
Yes.
at the minimum, the second, third week of April or May, sorry. Week of May. Yeah. Yeah. So we're
a busy time.
It is.
People, it's interesting. Maybe a video should be done or something like that where you could follow the life of a high school baseball coach for a week, and see just all the things that goes on and needs done that before you have the position you are clueless to, and there's more things,
the administrative roles.
Absolutely. Administrative, taking, documentation, taking care of the field, communication,
right.
Communication from to different parties. You're talking to a bunch of different people. There's just a lot that goes on outside of the baseball field.
I mean, just taking the field work alone. Last night, our junior varsity team played at Logan High School. And for those of you that don't know, watch and listen to our podcast, Logan has turf on their entire field, infield and outfield. So the entire field, the entire surface is turfed.
How long have they had that?
It's really nice. I believe this is their third year.
That's right.
Third or fourth, maybe. Might be four. I don't know.
It looks
been around for a while.
It still looks pretty decent. It looks nice.
Oh, it's in great shape. They put a press box. Have you been there this year? I don't know if I was there last year, but
yes,
there's a press box.
There's a press box and bleachers in the front of it.
Yeah. I mean, it's tight. They're tucked in there between I don't know what that body of water is behind there.
Yeah, it's a great environment, though.
Baseballs.
Yeah, you're right.
But it is. It really is a great environment. They've got tennis courts nearby. There was a tournament going on last night. There's a lot of energy there. Softball field's down.
Sets behind that Chieftain
Softball
Center.
field's outfield is turfed. As
well.
Yeah. Kaylee went to a couple colleges on her visits when she was in high school that had turf outfields.
Yeah,
it's pretty nice. But anyway, after the game, our kids were packing, cleaning up the dugout and getting ready to leave, and the guys out there with a broom around the base. I said, is this the extent of your field maintenance after the game? And he said, yeah, pretty much. So we got to sweep the little pebbles, the little black. What do you call it? The beads,
Pebbles.
The tire beads, or whatever, back to where they, from where you slide, because it tends to get low in those spots, and then they got a bucket, and they'll just dump a little bit more in those spots and sweep them around, and then go home.
When we went to Philo,
the pregame, think about it: show up, play.
Oh yeah, I know. It's just
no lining.
When I showed up at Meg's as the head coach, there was some talk of getting, a hitting facility, some lights, turf on the football field, which we now have. It's really nice.
Step one, you got it. There
then it'd be nice if we get turf on a baseball field. I'm like, no, what? No way.
You said that?
Baseball is meant to be played on grass and dirt.
And now that you've been a high school baseball coach for 3 years, what do you think?
Wouldn't be horrible. Wouldn't be the worst thing.
In this part of the world at this time of year,
yeah, it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world just because you save so much time. Practice time too. It would make makes those decisions a lot easier.
Yeah.
You wouldn't have to be indoors as much.
Yeah.
It would it would be nice. We put a lot of effort into it, we really do.
For real.
And I know I put a lot of effort in. I have a lot of people helping me do it. So grateful for that.
Us. And as head coaches, we get.
But it does take up a lot of time.
It does.
A lot of time. Constant maintenance.
What do you got today? You got a game today?
No, we're off today. We go to Federal Hawking on Thursday, and
so you're playing a team in our league.
Yes,
because we play them Friday.
Yep. So. And then we will play Nelsonville on Friday,
which we played Nelsonville York last week.
Yeah, depending on the weather.
I mean, who knows? Nobody's probably going to play. Nobody's playing today.
No,
most likely.
I don't think.
Matter
of fact, I'm not for sure. They may be releasing schools.
Even with turf, you're not playing today, just simply because it's supposed to.
Yeah, you're going to be out. Actually, decisions are going to have to be made whether you want the kids out on the road at all.
I had 2 players message me before we came on today saying that they're going home early because their parents were concerned they were going to get flooded
and
not be able to get home,
right?
So there are flood warnings and things like that in our part of the world, and you got the same issue. So even with practice, that's 2 guys that aren't even going to be able to practice tonight.
Right.
And, we were supposed to play a JV game tonight, and it's already been canceled. And I hate that because their schedule's limited anyway. We have 14 games on their schedule. We're going to get it rescheduled. But
I like, that's 14 games. Though is a good JV schedule.
It is.
I think that's where you want. Well,
especially when we're playing them on opposite days of varsity, because our whole coaching staff wants to be at every game, and so we're not playing them opposite. We only have 2 games on the schedule where we're playing on the same day, just in opposite directions. Which means when you look at our month of April, now that April has begun, the month of April, there are only 2 dates that we do not have baseball games scheduled. Prom day and one other date, which will probably now be filled with a JV game that's canceled today. And Sundays, we're not playing on Sundays, but yeah, and so it's going to be a month full of baseball games.
Yeah, our roster count this year, the numbers that we had came out made me think about doing that going forward. Kind of following that model that you have of scheduling on off days. Now, the players can only play 27 scheduled in-season games, correct? If you have a JV player, varsity player, they can only play 20.
They can appear in 35.
35.
Yeah. On 35 days. So, like, they could play a varsity
if you have a JV
on a Saturday
varsity.
And it counts as 1.
Gotcha.
I think it's 35. It's 30 something. It might be 30.
So that's good. So
maybe it's 30.
You can have two-way players pretty much play some JV games and then play the whole varsity season.
Yeah, I was tracking it last year because we had the same situation. We don't have it as much this year. There's only a few kids that will overlap. But last year we had like 6 that overlap. We only had 19 kids last year, and so we had about 6 that were overlapping and playing in both games. And so I had a little chart where I was tracking, how many days they appeared, and the closest, because of rainouts and all that, the closest that anyone got was like 27. And that's how many varsity games you're supposed to play, right? That's how many. So it's with the weather here. I mean, you should track it just in case, but.
Probably never going to touch it.
Yeah.
And I like the idea of staying together too a little bit. So you can.
The energy is different. It is. If you have good culture. And having that large group together, that's one of the things I like about it. I told all of our JV guys that you're going to travel with varsity every time we go somewhere. Whenever. The softball team isn't going with us, so basically all non-league games. Because all of our league games, we don't have a big bus. All of our buses are the smaller. Like when I talk about big bus, I mean like with the undercarriage to put your bags and things in. And so we got equipment that we're taking on there and all that.
Yeah, we have that too. Yeah, speaking of admin, you got to find someone to drive the trailer.
If you have a trailer. Yeah, we've put equipment in the back of a pickup truck before. We've done that just to give us a little more room.
Sure.
And one of the dads said, "Hey, I've got time. I can meet you, before." But that's the other thing. Everybody's working. Our bus leaves about 2:45, 3 o'clock to games.
I've been fortunate the last 2 years that we've had one of the coach on the coaching staff, Matt Finlaw, was able to pull our trailer to games. So then when we went with the softball team, we'd pull that trailer and everyone would just load their softball and baseball, load their stuff on the trailer, and then we'd have room on the bus.
Yeah.
But it would be tough.
So you're not taking everybody currently.
Typically don't, because with our schedule.
Yeah,
I've scheduled the last 3 years varsity and JV typically on the same day.
Right. Which is what I'm used to as well. I until I got to the smaller school, and just the numbers weren't there.
Yeah, and that's what
2 of the 4 years that I've been there, the numbers were like I could have done it this year.
Yeah,
Yeah. The problem with it this year is our junior varsity head coach, is one of my really good assistant coaches as well. I don't want to, and so because I said, we could do opposite, on the same day, but I really would like to have you, with us, when varsity plays.
Sure.
Another but though is that's also a lot of time. So that's going to be even more days. So if you want to do opposite dates, let me know and we'll do it. And Dustin was like, no way. I don't want to miss varsity games either. So yeah. So, I mean,
things to think about, you know.
It is.
You know, like right now, that's not necessarily having a huge impact on our season, but just that thought of, you know, where our numbers are, where they're going to be, you know, is it going to make it easier in the future? You know, you just thinking ahead, these types of things, you know, things you have to think about. So it's just.
Well, let's talk. You want to talk about the season a little bit?
Yeah, we can talk about it. Yeah, sure. Better talk about mine first.
Well, okay.
We've started slow.
It happens.
It does happen. Sure.
I mean, yeah, I've coached I've been a head coach for half that time, but I've coached for, you know, a little over 30 years since I stopped playing, and probably half of those seasons were slow starts.
Yeah,
yeah.
I think, you know, yeah, definitely. The longer you coach, the you know, you're going to run into, you know, it's the game. The game's hard, and depending on, you know, the makeup of your team and where you're at in the build of your program, and you know, there's a bunch of factors that go into play. But I've coached teams that you know, have started slow. I've coached teams that have had just not very productive seasons in regards to the win-loss column. And right now we're 0-5.
Well, in those seasons too is when you begin every season with goals, and hopefully they're goals that you can measure and control, right? I mean, a lot of times people begin with goals that you can't control, and then you're like, oh, well, that's not going to happen. And so, I mean, like after 3 games in, you're like, well, that's not going to happen now, right?
Yeah.
Let's go undefeated. We lost our first game. Well, lost that goal. Well, that's not a very good goal.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. And I think
who in baseball goes undefeated?
Yeah, and I know you and I see eye to eye on this. I think, you know, one of the primary goals of our program, and I know we see eye to eye on this. I know it's your program too. Is we want to win every moment.
Yeah. Yes.
That's
every moment.
That's our goal. We strive to win every moment, and you know, the moment that the game ends, and you either win or lose that game, that's a moment, right?
Yes,
you either did it or you didn't. But you know, if you have an approach of winning every moment, then that, you know, if you are able to do that, if you are able to be successful, and you know, you can compete in each of those moments that come to you, that's when, you know, the win-loss column kind of takes care of itself. But you know, that's the focus. You know, every year, every month, every week, every day, we should be striving to win every moment. I told my guys that last night. I said, I'm fine. You know, I feel good. You know, this is you as a coach,
you are. I mean, you are. I know you are, but I also, as a coach, I know you're not. Like,
well, yeah, it hurts.
There are parts of you that you're like, that this is eating you.
Sure,
because everybody wants to win.
Absolutely, absolutely.
And I understand that part of you as well.
And there's a part of me that, you know, I believe in the talent and the potential of the guys on our team and our program, and I think they deserve more than what they're getting right now.
Yeah.
You know, so that hurts. You know, but as a coach, this is what you sign up for. You know, if you signed up expecting to never have these types of struggles, then you probably made a mistake.
You're delusional.
Yeah.
One. I mean, because it's
definitely.
It is. It's up and down. And,
right. So
especially in a world where you don't get to recruit.
Sure.
Because I know people will be like, well, look at Nick Saban. He always wins. You remember when Nick Saban was in the NFL? You remember his stint in the NFL? Right? He went back to college because he couldn't win.
He quit in secret there, didn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And there's a lot of variables that people don't consider, you know. And when I say recruit, I'm not talking about high school team. I'm not blaming high school teams for recruiting.
No, I know what you're saying. That's a part of the process in college, NFL.
Here's the thing, too. You do have schools. Like, you ever wonder, you sit back and you're like, how is that school every single year just dominant and good? My brother and I were talking about this past weekend. It was Easter weekend. We were together, and I won't mention the school, but there's a school in our state that is just every single year dominant. He was talking to somebody from that area, and he said, just how? Like I know you don't recruit, right? I know, but what are you doing? I want to know what you're doing because I want a piece of that, right? And he said, no, we don't recruit, but I will tell you this: we do have kids who decide to come to our school, and they drive past 2 other high schools to get to our school.
They recruit in practice is what they do. It's their behavior. It's their culture that brings.
Yeah, everybody wants to come and play for them because that they always win. And so when now you've got this ball rolling, and it just isn't stopping, right? Yep. And you know, and for this particular school, it's more than one sport. That, you know, they've been pretty. You know, I think they've been to the state in baseball and basketball here recently. I don't even know what they did in football, but in some schools it's just one sport, right? Kids come and play one sport there. But anyway, that's not within our control, and we can't. We certainly don't want to drive that, because you drive that, now it's illegal.
Well, right.
In our sport and in our.
It may not be soon, though. It may not be soon.
That's true. I mean,
you know, it's happening more. Parents are more able and willing
to take their kids to a different school district.
Absolutely. Yeah. And making that move.
Yeah.
You know, physically moving their living locations.
Yeah, that's wild to me.
It is.
Yeah.
That's a big commitment, you know what I mean? But it happens. They're willing to do it now. So, you know, with the things that are changing in college sports, I could see eventually that trickling down.
I mentioned Nick Saban, and Nick, he's been very open. That's the reason why he got out.
Yeah,
that's the reason why he retired.
Which is odd, because you know they obviously have the resources.
Yeah,
and with him, you know, they have the ability to continue to bring whoever they wanted into that program. But you know, I guess from principle,
right. Well, I mean, just basically what's happening is other schools are able to do what Alabama has had the resources to be able to do.
Well, that makes a good point. Yeah, that's true.
To be quite honest, now the field's getting leveled.
They are able to do it, but now other schools are able to do exactly what they've been able to do. Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point. Taking his power.
And I'm a fan of Saban. I mean, I shouldn't say I'm a fan. I respect him.
Yeah,
I wasn't a fan of Brett Favre, but man, I look back at his career and I was like, dude, I respect that guy. You know, Tom Brady. You know, after you've done it for so long and you've been so consistently dominant. You're like, yeah, there's something there.
I think there's coaches that, you know, that don't belong in the NFL.
Yeah. Well, Pete Carroll didn't belong in college.
Right.
Right?
Yes.
I mean, it goes the other direction as well.
Yes. Yep.
I really do think Jim Harbaugh has the opportunity to win in both. He's a weird dude.
Well, people
don't like him.
He won in San Francisco.
He almost won a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then he comes to college, and it took him a while, but you know, he wins a national championship with Michigan, and you know, now he's going back to the NFL.
Yep, San Diego. No,
I think
Los Angeles.
He might just have the personality to fit in both worlds. I'm not saying he has a split personality, but or maybe he does.
Well,
but he, you know, he does. He's an anomaly.
In the NFL, quarterback matters a lot, and you know, that's something that Nick Saban didn't have when he was in Miami. So
yeah.
Harbaugh is going to a place that they have a good young quarterback, and Justin Herbert.
He did in San Francisco,
and he had a good. Colin Kaepernick was the guy there that he was playing through the prime of his career and was playing really well. Obviously, he had a good team altogether,
right?
But if you don't have that quarterback, it's hard to get things done. Yeah,
I don't know how we got on that. You're talking about ups and downs.
That's what happens when people don't give us topics to.
That's right.
I mean, you know, and talking to the guys last night, I just told them, you know, every day we got to get better. We got to get better at competing.
So, this is a good coaching life topic, actually. So Absolutely. You're in a position right now where you're 0-5 after week 1 or week and a half.
A week,
first week and a half. Yeah. What are you telling your guys? Because what happens? I know what happens when you lose 5 in a row. The chatter starts to, you know, the guys start to not care as much.
Yes.
Right. And the chatter starts among the parents. You should be doing this, and you should be doing that. My kid should be, you know. It's just natural. I'm not just talking about Meg's parents. I'm talking about every school district in the world. This is what happens.
Sure.
When you lose.
Yeah. When you're winning, it's. I mean, you still have it, but it's.
You do. It never goes away, but it's easy. It's harder to argue that the coach should be doing something differently when you're winning.
Yep.
When you're losing, everybody has a better answer. Everybody could be coaching your team to a win right now.
Yeah. Well, and to be honest with you, my message is kind of we're going to go day by day, and we're going to compete in practice. We're gonna start winning competitions, so that we can do that in games, because that's what happens to us. We're I would say we lack consistency. We hit well some games and field bad those games. We field well some games and don't hit as well. So it's just being able to be consistent in those moments where we get in situations that we have to come through. We've got to be clutch. You got to, and it's you versus the pitcher, or the ball's coming to you and you got to make the play. And right now we just haven't won those individual battles throughout the course of the game. And when you don't do that, they mount up. They build up quick, and it makes it very hard to overcome. We've been in. Other than Worley, we've been in almost every game. Warren beat us 6-0, and they jumped up on us 4-0 in the first inning, and after that, it was a 2-run game for the rest of the way. They scored 2. We hit the ball okay. They made great plays. Warren's a very fundamentally defensive team, solid, and but other than that, we've been in games. We were 6-4 at Gallipolis. Hitting putting the ball in play, hitting it well, and just gave up a bad inning with some errors and some walks and things like that, and we ended up losing 10-4. And then last night we had 2 innings where we competed, and 2 innings where we really didn't.
I looked at your box score from last night, and you guys came out and did you load the bases in the top?
We had runners on first and second, and we couldn't get anything done. Yeah. And those are the moments that it's hard to replicate, to simulate in practice, but that's just talking to my guys like that, saying nobody's entitled to a position right now. Nobody's entitled to a spot in the order. We're going to continue to change things until we can figure out something that works. And the reason that I'm saying this, the reason I'm putting this pressure on you, is because I feel like it's that pressure in those moments that are defeating us. It's not our talent. We have the ability to make the plays. We have the ability to get the hits when we need hits, or to find the zone when we need to find a zone. But it's that pressure. It's that situation that we're just not grasping. So what I want to do is I want to simulate competition. Throughout practice, and just continue to build upon that as we head into the game. So that's what I'm telling them. But I told them, I feel good. I'm not scared. I told them, I'm not scared, guys. I'm ready to go, but I need you to come with me.
Right. And you're also, and I know I've asked you this before, and you kind of downplayed it, but I want to revisit it, because you're kind of building a new identity for your team.
We are
from what your team had over the past 4 years, because you lost an all-star, right?
We've lost a lot of talent.
You lost a lot of talent, yeah. Not that you don't have talent there now, you do. I mean, but you had a dominant player that everyone in the league knows who he is, right?
Absolutely.
And he's playing Division I baseball right now.
Yeah.
Okay. And so for the last 4 years, every time this guy it didn't matter where he was on the field, everybody knew that he's leading the way, right? Obviously, he was on the mound a lot because that's where he was most dominant, and but offensively the same way. And I've been in those situations before. I had a player like that my first year at Eastern as well, and we had a lot of players around him that were really good as well. But that whole group, including the player who's still playing college baseball, that were very dominant, when they left, the next year we had a losing record that next year, right? And it wasn't that we didn't have talent, and it was I could have done things better. Our team could have done things better. But one of the things that I noticed was we never did figure out our identity. Like there wasn't. It didn't have the same feel. Obviously, it's not gonna have the same feel every year. But I was waiting for somebody to say, I'm going to lead this team up here, right? Among your peers, I'm going to lead this team. And I think that they were so led and they were followers essentially for so long, that then when they got to the point to where it's my turn to lead, it was almost like they either weren't prepared for it or didn't know how to do it.
Yep, that's it.
And you have those kinds of you'll have classes like that come through every once in a while. I mean, and usually those classes come after you have a really big dominant, alpha class, a class with a few alphas in it that hey, these guys were big time leaders, so we could just play. We can just play. But now we've got a lead, and who's going to do it? Which one, is it going to be you, me? Who is it going to be?
That's the exact situation you're in. And I would even say, step even away from the leadership perspective. When, last year, we're returning 4 starters from last year, and a couple other guys that got some time. But when Ethan was on the field, there was a level of confidence, whether he's playing shortstop or left field. It didn't matter where he's playing, because they knew
if he was playing DH, he was still going to be a guy that could pick your team up.
Yes, right? Absolutely. And when you have that, like you said, you've got guys that kind of just follow the pattern of the game and wait for him to do something great, or wait for something to get hot, and then be able to count on him to finish the game.
But we always have a chance because we have Ethan.
Right. And now that confidence isn't there, and what you need to do, I feel like I need to do.
You've got guys that can be that.
Yeah, and I need to empower them to get them there. That's on me to make them believe that, hey, this is your spot now. This is when we need you. To come through. Yeah. And we have the guys that can do that. It's just getting them there, I think, mentally.
Yeah, so. I mean, because they've been in a pattern of this is. I mean, it's hard to change patterns of behavior and patterns of thinking when you've thought the same way and you've approached something the same way for so long. But and
I will say this,
it takes time.
We've had Ethan. His freshman year was white because of COVID.
Yep. He had 3 years of baseball, right? Yeah.
And the 2 groups that the group that he played with as a sophomore, that Coach Jeff Whalen, they were a baseball group.
Yep.
They grew up, playing baseball, and that was true too. That a lot of those guys carried over into Ethan's junior year. So that was my first year. In my first year, I had a very good group, not just of talent, but just of baseball players.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. That understood the game, that's played the game,
that
lived the game. There's a big difference.
People don't understand the different. I mean, when we say there's a lot of I've got a lot of baseball players on my team this year, and it's exciting because it feels different when you have baseball players. Yep. And it's like, and because you could say, I got a team full of great athletes.
Yep.
And that's good, but you still want baseball players.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And there's, and
maybe
why?
more.
What's the difference? I'll let you explain the difference.
Well, I mean, the difference is,
you were already starting to explain it when I cut in there.
The difference is moxie, and it's, it's IQ, and understanding, the situations, and not making the small mistakes of just, throwing, allowing a runner to advance a second
making the proper throw.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter how great your arm is.
No.
If you can't throw it low and hard so that the cutoff man could actually cut the ball off if it needs to be cut, then we just gave up 90 more feet.
Right.
And people don't understand those little nuanced aspects of the game that you sort of miss just because the athletes are really good. But when you have baseball guys, they understand that.
Yep.
And, we would rather have you hop the ball to the catcher than throw it to him in the air.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Miss short, not long.
Yeah. Yeah.
But,
long. Yeah. Yeah. Long hop. Yeah. Yeah. It's a big. It is a difference, and sometimes you have those guys, and sometimes you don't. Sometimes you have good athletes, and you can compete with good athletes. But when you have good baseball players that aren't good athletes, you got a smart team that looks fundamental, but you're going to take some knocks too, because you're not going to be able to compete with teams that are good athletes. So you'd love to have both.
But I think, and we've talked about this before, at the high school level, the talent levels out.
Yes, it does.
You obviously have to have talent. You have to have talent to compete, because you're playing against other teams with talent. But when those things are equal, or even a little off, it's the team that understands how to play the game and how to play together and how to compete. Yeah. That usually gets the advantage. And I would say, I've coached teams that when they walked on the field, they expected to win.
Yeah.
They felt like they were the better team on the field that day, and they took it personal if they didn't win.
Oh, yeah.
And I think that's the mindset of a baseball player. That hey, we're going to win or else. That's what we're here to do. So it's definitely different this year. And I think that for the group that we have kids that can win. It's just getting them to buy in to what they need to do to get to that point, And some of it is just a matter of putting the team ahead of themselves a little bit,
Everybody struggles with that.
Sure, absolutely.
At times, some people struggle with it more than others.
Yeah.
And I think we tend to struggle with it more when we are losing.
Yes.
Because it's easy to say, I could do better. I could do better than the guy that's losing, right? That guy went 0 for 4. Well, I could do that.
Right.
Well, but that's not the mindset that we want to have.
Yeah. Yeah. But does 4 for 4 make us win that game?
Right.
Maybe. But I know there's some in our boat that we could have made changes and here and there, and it probably wouldn't have mattered. So. It's a process.
Even still, I mean, I would like to say, to that mindset, that's great. That's great, and you probably get your shot. If I believe you could go 4 for 4, you'll get your shot as well.
Sure.
But it still doesn't change the fact that's not what is going to build us to be a winner, to be a winning team.
Right.
What's going to build us to be a winning team is you feeling badly for the guy that went 0 for 4 and seeing some things that maybe he could have adjusted on, right? You chase some bad pitches there and you're at bats, what's your mentality? What are you thinking? How can you help one another as opposed to hoping that he does bad so that you can get your shot?
Yeah.
Right. I mean, that's things like that start to creep in, and that's the last thing that you ever want on any team is this individualism mentality.
Yes.
And Matthew Blanchard, he's actually the player I was talking about.
Yeah, I knew you were talking about.
And he came back during his spring break and spent a week with us during practice, and I had him speak to the team on his last day, and took a picture of our guys up sitting in the bleachers and him speaking, and he actually prepared a speech. It was really good. And talking about the team book that they read, and he said we have a word that we use for our team. It's sort of central to who we are as a program. It was funny when he said it because it's also the same word that we heard that the Alabama softball coach who spoke at the OHSBCA conference, the coaches conference this year, uses with his team as well. And it's an Italian word, I think. It's mudita. M-U-D-I-T-A, mudita. And it means having genuine joy for the successes of others. Being genuinely joyful about when others are successful. And that's, if you could build like an entire team of people who get just as excited when the guy that they're competing for a spot with does well, goes 3 for 4, hits a home run that day and 2 singles. If he can get excited about that guy doing that and still realize, the fact that he did that may mean that I don't play again tomorrow, right? But that's okay because we won, and that's what I'm about. You got something special then, and I will tell you this: anybody that wants to play in college, that's all there is in college baseball.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, there isn't anything different. If you show up and you don't have that. Matty even said this. He's like, they have their coaches don't have to do this. He said the seniors on our team at Seton Hill, if you show up 1 minute late for practice, they tell you to pack your crap up and go back home.
Is that right?
To your apartment. Yeah. He said there was a time, he said, I got out of class late and I forgot to bring my shoes with me or something like that for the turf or whatever. And he said, I had to run back to my dorm and get my stuff. And he said, I was sprinting. Because he said I didn't want to be 15. Because he said it's not late for practice. If you're not 15 minutes early, you're late, and they send you back. Like the guys they'll meet him right outside the gate and say you're not coming today, because you're not living up to our expectations. And that the team is policing that, right? So you want to play college baseball? Get ready. I mean, you want to play any college sport. I mean, that's what you're going to be. There are kids who say, "Oh, I want to play in college," but then they have this mentality in high school that's me first, me first, me first. It ain't that way in college. I mean, you may have it, but if you do, you better keep it to yourself because someone will beat it out of you.
Yeah, right.
or they'll tell you you're done. You're done here. Yeah, yeah. Because it is about winning all the time. It's about the team winning all the time, and that's the only way to turn it around. So, get those guys believing in Mudita.
I think we got the guys. I really do.
Yeah.
So we're gonna keep plugging away and see what happens.
Yeah. Good deal.
So we're 0-5. You're 4-1.
We're 4-1. Our one loss is a league game, which really sucks.
It does. You know, and I'm like,
listen, our league is tough.
Your league's very tough.
Last year,
the Hawking is very tough.
We won the league last year, and we had 3 losses, right? And not only did we win it with 3 losses, we won it outright with still 1 league game to play with 3 losses.
Yeah,
that means everybody else had 5 losses.
Yep.
And so I mean, we're talking about good teams with 5 very losses in the league.
Yeah, we played We opened with Waterford.
Yeah, and so yeah, I mean, we played. Belpre was our loss, and we knew they have an outstanding. They have one really good pitcher, a stud pitcher. Who's just a good athlete all around.
Is that Ben Copen?
His name is Chris.
Chris Copen. Ben Copen's his brother.
Ben is his older brother who was in the minor league system.
Playing for the Dodgers.
Pitched for the for Marshall for 2 or 3 years.
Yep.
And then did he start out with Marshall? Did he transfer to Marshall? I don't know. All I know is he's left-handed and he was throwing 98.
I think he's. It seems like I remember talking to Coach Cart from Warren. They actually no. I was actually talking to Coach Copen.
Yeah,
Ben and
coaches Blennerhassett Bears.
And
his dad.
He was talking about how blown away they were of how nice Huntington looked.
Oh yeah,
because the perception.
Marshall built a new facility a couple years ago, didn't they?
Yes,
it looks good.
And it's really nice. It's really nice down there. So they're like, hey,
I've watched a few of their games on ESPN Plus.
Yeah.
That's my Sunday afternoon. I watch ESPN Plus baseball.
The Chris kid's really good.
His younger brother he didn't have the same dominating stuff, but he's got that in his blood.
He's got moxie.
Yes, yeah. I mean that winning get after it mentality.
Absolutely.
Right? So it was a pitcher's duel. I mean, we threw Brady Rockhold, they threw him, and it was if Brady threw 13 pitches in this inning, he went out and threw 13 in that inning.
Yeah, it's funny. I talked to Brady before that game, and he told me that he was disappointed in the outing that he had previously. He didn't feel like he had his best stuff
in a scrimmage.
I think it was your opener. Was it Alexander?
Oh yes, that's right. He was. This was his comeback game.
I'm like, it happens. It's hard.
Yeah, he gave up a home run and then struggled to find the strike zone a little bit after that.
And, so I said, you'll get it back. No worries. And then he pitched a 10.
Yeah, he had a heck of a game. It was 1-1. We scored in the first inning.
He went all 10 innings?
He did. It actually ended up being 9 innings. I was wrong. I think I told you I texted 10 innings, but it was 9.
No, I thought I saw a game changer was 10. Either way, so he went 9 innings.
We may have batted 10.
So he gave up. He gave up 3 runs.
Yes, 3 runs, and he only threw 115 pitches.
That's awesome. That's a game.
Copen ended up throwing 128. He had to come out. Actually, he did not have to come out. He finished. He got an out in the top of the 9th. I think it was 9th. He got an out on what would have been his last batter. And so if we could have just held them one more inning, they would have had to put somebody else in. And maybe they had another. I don't know who they got. We knew what we're going to see with him.
Sure. Yeah.
And he and Brady are very similar in the type of pitches they throw. We had them off balance. They had us off balance. Our team is. I feel like our team is a good hitting team this year.
I think so.
And we had 13 strikeouts tonight.
Yeah, but that's going to happen too, though. Especially when you're facing a solid pitcher.
Well, I think we had just played a game before that where we had no strikeouts, and it was kind of a challenge that was going on in our dugout of whoever strikes out first is going to have to run polls, and it ended up being one of our JV guys that we put in.
That was a player thing?
Oh, yeah.
I like
it. Yeah. Well, because we have a 2-strike mentality, a 2-strike approach where you're literally physically changing your approach.
Yep.
And
we've been talking a lot about approach.
Yeah.
The last 2 weeks.
And listen, in the high school game, kids watch like our coaching staff and our kids watch Major League. They're watching some Major League Baseball games. They're like, none of the, like I had a kid point out to me last night, Coach, none of those guys use a two-strike approach, do they? I said, it's very rare. I said, the Cleveland Guardians a couple years ago when they were on their run in the playoffs, that's one of the things I loved about Francona is you could literally you could see those guys adjust their approach. Yep. Not all of them, but some of them did.
Well, and part of that's the strike zone, the way the umpires call the game, because you're better off to wait for that pitch that you're looking for.
Yeah.
As opposed to
the game is different, right? Because one of the things that the two-strike approach does is it basically gives you the mentality of if I just put this ball in play, we got a good chance here. And the reason why that's true in high school is because a lot of high school teams have a difficult time catching and throwing, right?
Yeah.
If it's not a routine play, then you got a shot.
Yep.
I mean, if a guy's got to backhand it, maybe his arm isn't strong enough to throw you out. If you hit a lazy ground ball and they've got to make a running play, I mean, even if it's a routine play, there's a chance that he might boot it, or the field isn't very good, so he hits a rock. I mean, there's just all kinds of variables that they don't have in the major leagues. Mm-hmm. You just hit a ground ball, you're out. It might be a double play, right? So we're not just going to put it in play. So when people say don't just use the just put it in play mentality, I see all these, major league hitting coaches, there is no such thing as just put it in play. Well, at your level, no. But at our level, that's valuable. It's valuable to just put it in play. It's valuable to bunt, right? Because a lot of teams can't field a bunt.
Yeah.
And so that's our approach is you're better off if you, and part of our quality at bats chart is did you put it in play with two strikes? And if you did, that's a quality at bat, and we want that, and we've seen that happen. We've seen the fruit of that as well. That guy puts the ball in play with two strikes, something happens, and we're safe, and we live to fight another batter. So So that game went 9 innings. We lost 3-2. We did score in extra innings. We went up 2-1, and we went up 2-1 in the. I guess it wasn't extras. It was the top of the 7th, and they tied it back up in the bottom of the 7th. Then it stayed tied until the 9th. And listen, this is baseball. This is how they won. I wasn't like I look back at that game, and I look back because we have a coach that films too, so I was able to watch it. We were barreling some balls.
Yeah.
That were right at them. Okay,
I've felt that way this for last week. I felt like we've went through stretches where we've really barreled balls. Yeah. And teams just made good plays,
and we had our chances. Right. I mean, I look back. There's some things that I think back to. Like had a runner on second base. With one out, our leadoff hitter was up to bat. The runner on second base had a great lead. He had a good read on the pitcher. And I believe that he could have taken third base. And he didn't, and I was actually out there going plus. I was giving him our little sign to hey, you've got all kinds of room behind you. Just keep walking, and then go. Let's give it a shot. Make the catcher throw it. And we're not scoring runs is at a minimum here today, and he didn't. It's neither here nor there. It just wasn't aggressive, right? Very next pitch.
There's some baseball IQ that goes into that.
Next pitch. Because our hitter had 2 strikes, so he's in 2-strike approach. Very next pitch, he hits a sharp ground ball to second base, who was playing deep. It was kind of in the 3.5 hole. The second baseman goes over and fields it, throws you out at first. Our runner goes to third. If he's on third, he scores that run. Yeah. Yep. And so and we didn't end up scoring that run in that inning. And so I think back through those little things like that. But the way they scored their runs in the 9th. Was Brady did walk a couple guys in that inning, and I went out and talked a little bit and said, hey, this is what we got to do. They're probably going to bunt, and if they don't bunt, we've got to get an out, right? And so if we have the opportunity to get the lead runner, let's get him. But otherwise, we're going to get a sure out here somewhere, And very next kid does not square to bunt. He swings, hits a pop up that's going. Just like it's going to land in that no man's land, the Texas League pop-up in between right field, second and first right there. And I'm just praying, get foul. And it lands on the line, on the chalk. And they had, funny enough, nobody uses chalk in the grass.
But
right?
they did?
They use chalk in the grass. So and I'm sitting over in the dugout, and you just see poof. And we're like, geez, I hit the line. Well, I thought game over. Because, I mean, if you're on
didn't score off that.
If you're on second base, that's no one. I mean, everybody's closing out on it pretty hard, but I get there was no outs, right? Maybe you don't want to get doubled off there, so you play it safe. But he was on the bag, like he was going to tag.
Ooh.
And so our right fielder did a great job of getting the ball in, and so now we have bases loaded and no outs.
Yeah, and you got no shot if you're on the bag there. But if you're 30 feet off, there's probably a play at the plate. Right. So you held him. You had bases loaded.
Bases loaded, no outs. Next kid pops up to the catcher, so we're in good shape. Bases loaded, 1 out. We go ahead and keep our defense, our infield in what we call black, which is our everybody's in. We're all coming home no matter what. We're not going to try to risk a double play here. And the very next hitter, who's been a good hitter in that game, he hit some balls pretty well. He gets jammed, and he hits a little ground ball that's like one of these type of ground balls that, had it gone right back to the pitcher, it'd have been a 1-2-3 double play out of the inning. But it was off to Brady. It was off to our pitcher's left of the mound, and he comes off the mound to try to make the play, and just kind of grabs it and throws it, and not in time. That's how they won, on a little squibbler like that, on a Texas league that lands on the chalk, and on a little squibbler.
Yeah,
and
that's
baseball. Yeah.
Sure is.
All right, this past week, Peyton Buckley, our lefty pitcher, was throwing a no-hitter against Nelsonville, York, a 5-inning no-hit. I mean, we'd scored 10 runs, and so he was in the bottom of the 5th, 2 outs, 2 strikes on the batter, 1 strike away from the no-hitter, and everybody, like, you could feel it. Nobody had said a word in the dugout. Like, everybody knew. He knew. He throws a good fastball. Kid gets jammed, swinging bunt down toward third base. Third baseman's playing deep, you know. Our defense had played great that day. Made some diving catches. They were all in on this no-hitter. And Peyton comes off the mound, and he's just rushing. He's the only one that can make that play, but he's left-handed too. So he goes to pick up the ball and doesn't pick it up clean. And then he goes ahead and tries to sling it to first, and too late. And that's what broke up the no-hitter. The next kid he struck out. So, yeah.
One-hitter's a heck of a game.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, he's pitched 2 really good games for us.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Sure.
So, yeah, that's where we are. I mean, and we just, again, take, like, just like you, take it. I told our kids at the end of the week, I said, listen, I didn't want to be 4-1 at the end of this week.
Yeah.
I want to be 5-0.
Right.
And so that means we got to get better.
Yep. And that, I think that's why I feel
we're 0-1 in the league.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
We're at the bottom of the league right now.
Yeah. Of course, it's a
everybody's
large
played one
bottom.
game.
Yeah,
right.
Large bottom. Right. But yeah, that's why I think you want to try to have a philosophy that allows you to follow. You can follow it when things are going well and when things aren't going as well as what you want. Yeah. And I think that idea of when we talk about it being the best person you can in every moment, being the best ball player you can in every moment, winning every moment. I obviously winning baseball games is something that is on the minds of a baseball coach, but for us, we want our guys to be focused where their feet are, so that they can win, they can compete, and they can win in that moment. And you're not always going to do that. You're not always going to win that moment, right? Because it's hard, right? It's things get you Texas leaguers and squibblers and seeing eye single, things like that get you in baseball and in life. Yeah. But if that's your approach and you're consistent about it and you're working every day, every moment to get better, that's how you win. You will eventually start winning more of those moments. You will. And that's how growth takes place. Sure. Yeah. One of the cool things that Matthew did with our guys was he showed them a chart of how success happens, right? Of how growth happens. And a lot of people tend to think that it's like this, right? That we grow just in a straight line, and it just doesn't ever happen that way. People who worked in strength training know this is how, in every way that we grow in life, there's a little bit of it's slow and gradual. So it's a very slow. It's never like that. Right. I mean, you win the lottery, that's that. But we're not doing that in real life. There are moments. Even after you win that lottery, there's going to be moments where you're going to come down. Yeah, and that's it. I mean, you grow a little bit, and then you stagnate.
you get stagnant and it plateaus and maybe even go down a little bit. And then you have a moment where it's like, ooh, this was a good moment. And you go up a little bit more, stagnate a little bit, grow a little bit more, stagnate a little bit. But then when you look at the end, a year later, a couple years later, 3 years later, however long, you look back at where you began, and there is actual growth there. And so in a game like the one that we coach, there's always going to be those moments where you're going down.
It's built in. It's always part of it.
It's part of it.
As a matter of fact, that's a huge part of the game, is being able to handle those and come back with the same enthusiasm and the same confidence and being able to take on the next opportunity.
162 game season that the major league teams play, right? 162. And teams that win 90 games are awesome.
Yep. Great records.
Right? Yeah. And that's a lot of losses. It's a lot of losses.
It is.
You lost 70-some games.
Yeah. I would say 0-5 in a high school season that's a bad stretch.
Sure.
But if you it happens every week in major leagues. Team will drop 5 games, 4 games.
Yep.
So it's just it's a larger example of what you deal with.
Even looking at a college season, right? 50-some games or 50 games if you get a good season in. 5 games, that's a whole series plus another midweek game maybe. But still, we can bounce back from this. I mean, it's not that big of a deal.
Yeah. That's the game.
It is.
That's what we're fixing to do.
That's right.
Whenever we play you guys, definitely that's going to be a growth day for us.
Fixed for that game.
That's going to be a growth day for us. We're going to bounce back for that one. So
when are we on? I picked up my computer so I could find ours.
I think
the only game I know we got is our next one.
Yeah, I'm not even sure whether we play Nelsonville at home or away Friday. I think we play them at home, but I just know we play Fed Hawk away.
Yeah,
it's just
Yeah, I mean,
one
now granted, I know you do this too because of pitching. I have a plan for who we're throwing.
Yeah, I know I'm on throw Friday.
Yeah, and that plan is dependent upon how today's game goes.
Right, like if I need my Friday starter to close on Thursday, then I'll close to win. Yeah, I'll get that win Thursday,
right.
and then we'll flex.
You got to figure out Friday, the next day.
But I would say a tentative plan.
Right.
Yeah.
I will say, looking back at last week, our pitching went exactly as planned. We had 3 guys throw complete games last week. Brady with the Belpre game, Ethan Edwards threw a really nice game against South Webster. South Webster's who we lost to in the district tournament last year. They won the district and went on and lost it. I think they lost like 7-1 or 7-something against Berlin Highland, the state championship team. But that's another team, to back to your point of losing a big piece but returning a lot of guys. He returned 7 starters, but lost 2 pretty big pieces of their team. The 2 lefty pitchers that won most of their games.
Yeah, I think they lost their last game. South Webster, who did?
They've lost quite. They've lost all but 1, I think.
Oh, have they?
Yeah,
okay.
right now.
Yeah.
Now they're solid though. They're going to be good. Well, they also went deep in the basketball tournament, and that's another one. We've talked about the overlap.
Right.
There, and so he hasn't had his baseball players in practice as long as I have, and other teams have. My brother's in that same situation.
Yeah,
and so I mean it is. There's a lot of variables that people don't think about, but no, Ethan threw a complete game there and a 2-0 win, and then Peyton was the next night against Nelsonville York, and so those 3 starters, those 3 guys are the guys I'm hoping to just be able to start as our starting pitchers, then use everybody else in relief. But we didn't use any relief in those 3 games last week. We used relief in the Alexander game. We went to 2 different guys in that game, and 3 pitchers total, 2 different relievers. And no, that's not true. We just used 2. I think Lane Atha ended up getting. Did he get the
with
win?
Alexander?
Did I bring Ethan in? See, I don't even remember. 5 games ago, I don't remember. But anyway, it's a long season.
Sometimes longer than others.
Sometimes longer than others. Yeah. I'd like to read something if you don't mind.
Sure, go ahead.
This is something I posted this week, and I felt it was important and valuable because and it fits some of the things that we've talked about. and posted on Twitter as well, and it's carried out there pretty good among people. And it's on Facebook, and I'm not a huge I don't. Sometimes I get inspired. I don't like making big long posts and things like that. I certainly don't like making them about. You're not gonna. I know people when you're. If you play for me, I love you. I love the things that you're accomplishing, but I'm not going to post a bunch of individual accomplishments on it's just, some people like that. I don't do that. Mm-hmm. All right. But I will post when I get inspired. I'll throw something out there about the team and about just team dynamics. And so this is something that I put out there this week, and we'll let, if you haven't read it as a listener, this be the first time that you hear it. But I said this: baseball season's in full swing. College baseball has been playing for 2 months. High school baseball just finished our first week of play, and Major League Baseball has opened. And then in the next couple of weeks, youth teams will be playing games. In light of that, I would like to share a thought that I hope we will all consider and reflect on regularly. And knowing that our youth teams and youth organizations are going to be starting to play, I know that this is something that could be valuable for people to just kind of keep in mind. I said, I know that a lot gets posted on social media about the dynamics between coaches and parents and players, and everyone has opinions and perspectives that are largely influenced by our personal experiences. Everyone has experienced good coaching and bad coaching. I've been a good coach and I've been a bad coach. I've also been a good parent and a bad parent. I'll admit that. These roles are hard, and everyone could use a little grace extended their way at times. There are so many aspects of the coaching parent-player dynamic that I could touch on, which is why Pat Martin and I have a 165 episode podcast on the subject, right? But what I want to share specifically here is what goes through your coach's mind every time he makes out a baseball lineup. Making out a baseball starting lineup is very difficult. It's a difficult process. It's often a stressful process. Consideration must be given to a number of things, such as who's pitching today, who's hitting well right now, whose arm is unavailable due to pain or even injury. How does each player match up with the opponent's pitcher, if we know who that's going to be? Who's pitching tomorrow? Who pitched yesterday? How many pitches did he throw? How many pitches can today's starter throw and still be available to pitch in 3 days? Who is our catcher? Who's going to be our best first relief pitcher? And those are just some of the baseball considerations. Additionally, your coach is also thinking about other considerations, such as psychology and the disappointment that some players will feel when they look at the posted lineup and see that their name is not on it today. Your coach does understand that everyone wants and expects to be in the lineup. That's one of the hardest things about baseball. You can only put 9 in the lineup at a time. Some younger leagues will allow for roster batting and open substitution, which does help with this. But it's one of the hardest things about baseball, which everyone must learn to embrace and deal with. Only 9 can play at a time, or 10 with the DH. And some people don't even recognize the DH as a real player, right? Have you ever had people get disappointed that they were DHing? Like, dude, you're in the game, right? Yep. You're in the game. It is a lineup, and it's a position in the lineup.
It's a role.
It is. It's a role.
A playing role.
And some days only 9 play in that game. Not 10, right? Some days only 9 play in the entire game. Baseball, and the reason for that is because baseball substitution rules are not like any other team sport. Yep. In football, basketball, volleyball, soccer, and maybe others, you can run substitutes in and out of the game an unlimited amount of times. In most baseball scenarios, you can only sub once, and then that player's done for the day. High school allows for 1 re-entry for the starter. Many youth leagues allow for more re-entry, but still, it's not easy. And the point is this: it is difficult to make these decisions, and these decisions never come without pain. Your coach knows that, and at the end of the day, this is the one question your coach has to answer. What is the lineup, the best 9, which is not always the 9 best? What is the lineup that I believe will give our team the best chance to win today? The answer to that question is sometimes the same for several games in a row. Sometimes it changes from game to game, like you talked about maybe needing to do. But I promise you, that is the biggest question that your coach is answering and has to answer. So don't be offended if you or your child are not in the lineup. It's never a personal thing. Sometimes you're chosen, sometimes you're not. just like job interviews that he will be pursuing in a few years. They're just looking for the best candidate to fill the roles needed. Let your children experience that part of life. It is valuable. Here's the solution and the remedy for the pain. The solution for the pain is loving your team. Love your team. Love being part of the team. Teach your children to value being part of the team more than valuing their individual performance on the team. I promise you, the former is what he will remember in 20 years. Cheer as loudly and as often for the team as you do for your individual child. It teaches them the principle of team first. Teach your children the value of having real joy for the successes of others, that mudita that we were talking about. True joy and happiness come not from focusing on yourself, but from focusing on others. This is teamwork. And it builds in your child the mindset that regardless of whether or not he's one of the starting 9 who will be on the field that day, he will be in the game. You can always choose to be in the game, having an impactful role on your team. And that happens almost instinctively when you're thinking about the team first. Baseball's fun. It's a fun game regardless of your role. We make out a lineup to win. We play to win. Oops, I lost it. We make out a lineup to win. We play to win. But in all things, we have fun. Hope you have a great baseball season. And then that's my word to our youth organizations around. And it's really, I mean, it could be valuable to every amateur baseball organization.
Absolutely. That's a good word.
I really liked, and of course underneath that you get a lot of comments and things like that. I really liked a comment that Coach Bowen, Eastern's previous coach, who's still teaches at Eastern's, back at it, assisting at Federal Hawking, I believe. And he mentioned, that's one of the most difficult things is helping people realize that the context that we're choosing players is this. It's a small context, and that is this baseball game. And it's not even every baseball game. It's not. Sometimes people think, oh, I'm not in the lineup. That means I'm never going to be in the lineup. Like, no, we have 27 or more games to play, right? But in this baseball game right now, these are the 9 people that we believe are going to help us win today. And that's my job, right? It's not your job. It's not your parents' job. It's not anybody else. It's not the superintendent's job. It's my job. And you may disagree. A lot of people may disagree, right? If the superintendent disagrees, then maybe I shouldn't have this job, right? But here's the thing. It's just this context. And what Coach Bowen said that I love is that, like, I told parents before, like, if we're having a who do I want to marry my daughter competition, your son wins. If we're having a, who's going to be a great citizen competition, your son wins. If we're going to have a who's going to be the most successful in life in your future job competition, your son probably wins. But today the competition is who's going to help us win this game.
Yep.
And he doesn't win that one.
Yep.
It's okay.
Not today.
It's okay. Right. Yeah, not today. Right? He may win tomorrow. Right? But it's just being okay with that is sometimes really difficult. And
it is difficult, but that's the difference. I would say a difference between average good teams and great teams.
It is without a doubt the difference
if you have a group that is okay with that and is able to embrace it and thrive in that in that situation, that's when you're going to start seeing success. And like you said, as they talking about interviews in life as they go later on,
other contexts and aspects
and the
life.
things that they're going to remember the most.
Yeah,
it's also where they're going to learn the most about who they are and about living in life. So good word, Coach.
Yeah, well, we got a podcast in.
We got one in. Try to do one next week. I think Tuesday's open next week, so someone should send us some topics or something.
Your Tuesday calendar is open?
I think so.
Your baseball calendar? I don't know. My phone's being used to video you over there, so I don't. I saw you laughing. Was I getting text messages or something? What during our
Coach Huffman sent you a couple texts.
Well, see, he's got a JV game tonight, and I don't know if you noticed, but the sun's out right now. I mean, we got hammered with rain earlier. I don't think anybody's going to be playing baseball today. But right now the sun's out, and so maybe he's thinking, hey, we can get this game in.
Yeah, we're Monday, Wednesday, Friday next week. Yeah, it's not. I would say you could get it in if it went this way for the rest of the day. However, the radar showing the forecast is not looking good.
Another bad spot. Well, and even if, I mean, if we had turf, we could get it in, right?
Maybe, maybe not.
But, no, I mean, like, with it, even if it stayed this way the rest of the day, I don't know about your field. I know you guys have, you rich schools have a much better field than we do, and so, I have to take the rest of the day off and go put sponges on mud puddles, if we're gonna play a game tonight, and you can only do that so many times.
If it stays like this, you could play on turf. I see what you're saying.
Yeah,
but yeah.
I had somebody ask me last week because I made the comment. I was exhausted before. I don't know what game it was. We got the field ready to go. Right, we're able to play. I'm in the locker room. I'm getting my uniform on, and one of the players looks at me and is like, "You look tired, Coach." I said, "Been here for a while. This is why I like playing away games." He's like, "You play away games?" And I said, "Yeah. When we play away games, I show up, get on the bus, and go play on somebody else's field that they've had to spend hours, maybe, getting ready." Yeah. It's
Coach Newsom, when we went to Athens last night, he was out there raking, and Coach Bennett was dragging, and there were some field condition bags over by the visitor dugout. Yeah, and I could just, Coach Newsom was tired, and he was like, "I'll get those bags." Like, "Coach, I'll get those bags. Don't worry about
people
that."
People don't realize what it takes.
And he was out there. I would say he was out there working on it from 10 to 5 o'clock.
Because they didn't have school yesterday.
Or 4 o'clock.
And so it was, he had the opportunity to. But I mean, what about the days when we have work, right?
I was teasing him.
Take vacation and go get
your
field ready.
Yeah, that's what we have to do. Yeah. I was teasing him because I said, it's supposed to rain here in a bit, hopefully. Hopefully that pushes out. Yeah. No, you have a call here. You probably need to take. So.
All right, no.
Everyone, good seeing you. Yes. Hope to see you next week.
Let's do it again.